Hey everyone, it's Brenda Rose, and I want to talk to you today about our beautiful fall inks, the first palette of inks that we came out with. The Potter's Clay, Lilac Posies, and I've used some rich cocoa on this as well. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do with this layout is cut the paper. So we have a 12 by 12 background of the piece of paper that is caramel splatters from Croptoberfest, and I'm going to leave mine whole, but know that you can take this and gut out a portion of it so that you have either this beautiful caramel splatters or this plaid for another time. Okay? So just so you know, you can do that. Now I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to grab a piece of this floral. Now I want to use this floral up in the left-hand corner, but I need this to be a little smaller. We're going to go with 11.5 by 11.5. So I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off the edge here and a 1/2 inch off the edge there. I'll move my inks over for a minute. And I'm just going to slip this in my trimmer and use the right side of the trimmer to cut that 1/2 inch off and to cut another 1/2 inch off. So quick and easy. The second piece of paper you're going to use is another floral piece, and I want two pieces that are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So we're going to cut off just a plain portion of the paper for that. We're making double mats for this page. If you don't want double mats, you certainly don't have to do that, but I'm going to pop this in my trimmer and just cut it right on down 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I can get two pieces off of a length, and that makes it really super easy to get my pieces ready for the first mat. The second mat is going to be plum cardstock, and let's grab a sheet of that. And this is going to be 4 by 6. So simply bring it in at 4 inches and then 6 inches. We really don't use much paper for this at all. And one of the reasons I don't use much paper when I design inked pieces is that I want that stencil to really show. So you've got your two 4 by 6, you've got your two 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then you'll be able to put your 3.5 by 5.5 photo on there. And then you've got your caramel piece, caramel splatters, with the 11.5 inch square of the large floral. Now I'm going to set that caramel splatters aside. We're going to attach that at the very end. We don't want to add anything. We want to leave this open for doing all the stencil work that we're going to be doing. So I'm going to grab, first of all, my craft mat, because we're going to splatter a little bit. Okay, so I want my craft mat down, and I'm going to splatter right against the edges of this floral design and then right along the bottom. Okay, and it's pretty easy to control if you are using the right tools to splatter. I love using a paintbrush, and I've just got a #1 liner paintbrush. It's got a thin head, makes it very easy for splattering. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that Lilac Posies ink, which is so beautiful with this fall paper, and I'm going to put a little bit on my craft mat. If you don't have a craft mat, you can always use an empty embellishment bag or an empty paper bag, whatever you choose to do. Now I want to spritz a little water on there, And when you spritz water on your ink, the more, see, it's still a nice rich color. The more water you use, the actual, it fades out the color more. So you're going to want to use just a spritz if you want nice bold color like this. All I do is pick it up with my brush and tap it on my finger and tap the brush. What this does, first of all, is it makes such nice bold color. And I'm trying to make sure that you can see every splatter that I make. So I'm making it dark enough so that you can see. And then we're going to go over here. This gives you a little more control when you splatter this way. And I love to put splatter in specific places, like around this floral layer. So I want as much control as I can get out of my ink splattering technique. Now I just pushed my ink pad on the craft mat 3 times, and you're going to see I'm splattering around here, and that's okay. We just want some splatter along the edges of this. And if it gets elsewhere on the paper, it's just going to be character for this page. And that's how exactly how I look at ink splattering, character for the page. A little depth, a little design, and you've got your ink splattered on there. Oh, that's so pretty. I hope that you can see that. It gives just a little more character to that already so beautiful floral piece. And then along the bottom, and every once in a while, you've got a little splatter here and there, and I love it. Now, to clean your paintbrush after you splatter, you can just spritz the brush and run it over your craft mat, or you can spritz the craft mat with water and clean your brush that way. So easy. And you'll want to clean up before you move on to the next step so that you have a good surface, a good clean surface for working on. And all I do is take some paper towel and wipe it off. It's that simple. You can also use a dry microfiber cloth, and that will work well. My paintbrush is clean, my surface is clean, and I don't have any ink on my hands. I love it. All right, now we've got this nice piece of floral paper that has some splattering. The next step I want to do is take this lilac posy ink again. Don't let your craft mat go far because you're going to need it for this step. Because I'm going to show you how to take your ink right off of the pad versus rubbing it somewhere else and maybe wasting a little bit of ink. So I want to have this ink pad right here, but I want my blending to be very soft. And so I'm going to tap this in and tap it off on my craft mat. And then I'm going to start in a circular motion before I even reach the paper, so that whatever I put on this paper is nice and light and looks like a lilac posy shadow. And I just keep re-inking along the way and stay in that circular motion all the way along here. You can go right over the leaves. The tighter you are, the better it looks for um, almost like you're clustering inks. We talk about clustering embellishments, but now we're going to cluster inks on this page, which is one of my favorite things to do, which makes me so happy that we have inks. Now, at this point, I don't need to have a real tight hold on my brush, and so I'm holding it in my hand and with my finger on the top of the brush, and that works real well for this kind of blending. As we move into the stenciling, you'll see that I hold my brush a lot differently. So look at that. Look at that lilac posy shadow. It's just so pretty. Now I'm going to cover up my brush. Oh, if you got the brushes, you're so lucky. They're so nice with the cover. I'm going to set this aside and grab my stencil. I'll do this on top of the craft mat so you can see. I want to tape off these pieces so that I only have the leaves showing. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of tape. Now, you can use any stencil tape with a low tack. You'll want to test it on any print paper to make sure that it doesn't take off the design. Some stencil tape is a little bit more sturdy than others. And so you just want to make sure that you're not tearing off any of the print on the paper. And so I just kind of put pieces around, and then this stencil tape, even though I'm cutting it, you can use this over and over again until it loses its tack. Just keep using it. And let's use this piece here. And I need to go at a little bit of an angle to tape this off. So let's go right like this. Oh, does that make it easy? It's going to make it very, very easy for stenciling as well and what we're doing. So the first thing we're going to do, well, I'm going to get my tape back on there. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to use that portion that overlays to hold my stencil down, is lay this stencil on the paper in the manner I want it. So I'm going to put it against the edge here a little bit and a little off the edge and towards the bottom over that lilac posy splattering. And now I can use that tape to hold it in place. So now I want my potter's clay brush and ink. And you know what? If you're watching me and working along, please go ahead and pause me at any time so that you can do what you need to do and then come back and watch the video. So I'm going to ink up my brush and pounce. And in a circular motion in the air before I even touch the paper, I'm going to lightly and very delicately sponge these leaves. This is where I like to have my fingers around the head for a little bit more control. And it is just so beautiful with those splatters underneath. Have you ever looked at the fall leaves, and sometimes fall leaves have those little spots on them? This gives you those spots without having to do anything. Now look at this. We're just going to keep going. And don't worry if it's perfectly straight. It's okay if it's not. These are stenciled leaves, and there's nothing perfect about stenciling. You have to almost let go of your tendency to want to have perfection and just enjoy the process. Even in filming this video for you, I so enjoy the process of stenciling and how relaxing it is. And it just brings out a little bit of that creative spirit within you, I think, when we stencil and move our ink around. Now this one is going to come off the page as I set this down. This leaf is coming off the page, so I'm going to cover up that leaf so that I don't catch that little portion. And we're just continuing to ink. Oh, how I love this. And I hope that you're loving it as well. I hope that you're loving the inks and really enjoying what they add to the page. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Isn't that pretty? Okay, next I want to add a few leaves in and amongst this area right here. And so I'm going to take this tape off. I'm going to reuse it, so don't worry, we're not wasting a whole bunch of tape. But we can go ahead and take that off. And I want to wipe this stencil with a dry paper towel, not a wet one, because I want it to be dry because I'm going to continue to use it. And so I'm just going to wipe that off to get that ink off. And then I just want to go ahead and block off whatever leaf I want to use for around there. Now I've chosen to use this one right here. So I'm going to tape that off. We don't have to use quite as much tape this time because we only have this small portion. And I'm going to go ahead and add 4 leaves here and there along these leaves. So again, I'm going to grab some Potter's Clay ink and go ahead and sponge that in. Now you'll see by putting it up inside there, it makes it a portion of that design and clusters it right in so that your eye isn't affected by, oh my gosh, there's a leaf all of a sudden. It's already worked in. So it's worked right in the design and you don't have to worry at all. And let's move that one more time down to here. And now it looks like it's a portion of the design. Oh, isn't that pretty? Just to add that little bit of Potter's Clay ink in there. We're going to remove this tape, and again, I will wipe the ink off of my stencil, and then I've got a dry, clean stencil. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is tape off this small mum, just the little one. So I'm going to put tape over everything around that. And make sure that it's blocked off so that I don't get any other design in there. It's a little tricky around there, but you can do it. I know you can. So I have just that small mum blocked off. And I'm going to take some Lilac Posy ink. Now I'll put my Potter's Clay away. And I'm going to take some Lilac Posy again. And we're going to use a very soft blend. So go ahead and get ink on your blending brush and tap it off. And then in a very light-handed way, really light-handed, go ahead and circle some ink on there. So you've got mums mixed in with these leaves. Isn't that pretty? That's such a fun thing to do. And it doesn't take much ink at all. Now, this example is not going to look anything like the example I already created because ink just doesn't turn out that way. Ink does its own thing, and wherever you put it and however much ink you have on your brush is what your project's going to look like. So let's put one more over here coming off the page because I've got that one going off a little bit. And look at that. You have mums intermixed with that splattering and those leaves. It's so pretty. But we're not done yet. We're going to put some mums around these images as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and cluster that up into the floral design and into the leaf. Okay, so again, we'll ink up our brush. I want a little more control, so I'm going to hold the head and sponge very lightly. And a second time. These mums look so gorgeous when we break them down and have just a little bit different look to them. It's like they're intertwined with the design the artist already created. And whoever drew this, oh my word, it's just beautiful paper. So there we've got some mums mixed up in there. And now I'm going to cap off my lilac posy. And we're going to look at the rest of the page. The first thing I want to do is put my photo mats together. So I'm going to grab those photo mats, and we're going to, before I even tape this on, I'm going to grab my rich cocoa ink and edge the outside of it so that this photo mat stands up a little more. When I do that, I don't want to bring ink into the paper. I want, because this is, even though it's inked, a little cleaner design. And so I'm just going to rub the edge of the ink pad on there to create this nice brown edge on here, almost as if you've got a small photo mat. And it's so easy to do. Hold your paper firm and then just rub the ink pad up and down the side at a 90-degree angle. You want it to be straight. And if you were putting this on a white background, look at how that would pop. It just gives that little bit of extra, I don't know, maybe depth is the word that I am looking for. But it's a nice technique to add to anything where you're putting light paper on a page. And this going along the edge like this really is a nice way to do it. Like I said, it's almost like adding a small piece of paper behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere those to the photo mats. You can also pop this up from the photo mat using your squares. You could pop this up so that there's a little more interest in your photos. I love that. So I think that would be a nice idea as well. We're going to put those photo mats on, and now I want to bring back my page. Now I'm going to go about 2 inches from the bottom. I need my cutting mat for measuring because we're going to go 2 inches from the bottom with this piece. I want this to be directly at the bottom. And I'm going to get my ruler and go ahead and hold my ruler 2 inches from the bottom. Now, I want it about an inch in. So at the 11-inch mark, I'm going to go ahead and here, I need this right on the edge. So at about the 10.5-inch mark, I'm going to set them down. I'm not going to adhere them yet. Okay, I just want to set them down at a good spot. This photo mat will come up here. Look at how that corner is clustered by that beautiful ink and those mums and that design. Now I've got these down straight. What I want to do is take my pencil. I'm holding these mats. I want to take my pencil and just put a little pencil line above and down in this center a little bit because we're going to stencil some leaves in there. I also want to put a mark over here in the corner. And then I will set our embellishment where we're going to have it. And I'm going to draw a pencil line around this wagon wheel. Those pencil lines are things that you can't see on the camera and no one's going to see. So you don't have to worry about them at all. Okay? But what we're going to do is take our stencil. Now I haven't cleaned it from the last mum use yet. So I want to wipe this with a dry cloth. I've got my paper towel and I'm just going to wipe that down so that my stencil tape will adhere. And then you can tape off either this larger leaf or this one. I think I'm going to tape off this one like I did in my example. So we just need to grab some of that tape again. I'm going to grab this little longer piece. I hope you guys are just loving what you can do with your inks because it's such a valuable tool in scrapbooking. Not everyone will ink, and that's just the way it is. Not everyone will want to put ink on their pages. But if you do, you'll have so much fun using these generous stencils that were created for us with all the images on them. I've got this taped off. I'm going to grab my Potter's Clay ink, leave my craft mat over here, and I want a couple of leaves coming up out of this area right here where they meet. I'm going to go inside those pencil marks. It's not going to show on the outside at all, but what much at all. But what that does is give you a nice cluster for those pictures and a point where it is used so nicely. So we're inking up the brush like we've been doing and tapping it off so that we don't have a hard edge on our sponging, and that's nice and light. So we've got a couple leaves up there. Now down around this wagon wheel circle, we're going to put a few leaves. And I'm inside the pencil line of the wagon wheel, just so that you know. And you can turn the leaf any which way you want. And that actually gives it much character because however you have those turned on there is going to be just lovely no matter what you do. And I think I'll put a third one just because I really like these leaves and it's so much fun to stencil. Okay, let's get that last one in here. And now before I put one down in this corner, I'm going to take my lilac posy ink. Remember how when the picture sat up here, it just really had movement where the photo was meeting that floral? I'm going to put a little bit of posy sponged ink down in this corner so that the leaf will be on top of it. So I'm going to ink that up and pounce it off and then just go right here very lightly. We don't need much, just a nice circular motion so that that ink is outside of that square. Okay, and that's all we needed. just that. So I'll move that out of the way. And then we're going to take our potter's clay again and put a couple of leaves down here. You'll just barely see these leaves outside, but it's enough to bring the tightness in on this design. And that's going to go right over that purple ink to create just this lovely fall color that you might strive awfully hard to get if you didn't do something like this. Okay, now we've got leaves where we want them. The thing I want to show you next is how to clean your stencil. I'm going to set this aside and pull the tape off. And all I do to clean the stencil, let's move this stuff out of the way so that it's not on the mat. Pull this mat over. I'm going to set this aside on my desk to use on a later project. And I've got a little ink, not very much at all, a little ink on there and a little ink on my stencil. All I'm going to do is spritz it all with water. That's it. And I'm going to wipe my stencil clean and dry so it's ready for the next one. And the same thing with my mat. And there my mat is clean, my stencil is clean. I don't see, oh, a little bit of lilac posy, but that's probably from pushing on the stencil. All right, before I attach the photo mats and embellishments, I want to take that rich cocoa again and go ahead and rub it on the edge in that 90-degree angle to give this a little leverage and lift, just because it looks so nice. Once you start adding your ink to the edge like this, you're going to do it a lot. Now, Memento ink is fade resistant. It's dye ink. It dries very quickly, and it's safe for your scrapbooks, so you don't need to worry. Okay, we're almost done. We've got one more side to do. And we've given that a nice edge. And now I'm going to go ahead and put that on my caramel splatters paper. Okay. Look at how pretty it is to put that caramel in the background and kind of highlight all the potter's clay inking that we've done. Now you can use your repositionable tape like I'm doing, or you can use your tape runner, whichever one you want. You know that repositionable adheres for the long term. It's a lot more than just repositionable. It's a dots runner, and so it allows you to pick things up. And there we go. We've got that on there. Now I've got the pencil marks to show where my photos go. So I'm going to go ahead and put these down right on those pencil lines. I don't have to bring out my ruler. And look at how those leaves peek out from behind the photos, giving it a little bit of a fall look, and that little bit of plum color ink, the lilac posies, is perfect. Okay, because I'm at an angle, I'm going to measure anyway, just so that you're not looking at crooked photos. It's 2¼ inches when they're together. I am a little crooked here. This is the beauty of repositionable tape. Being able to pick it up and move it right back down. I kind of felt like I was crooked, you guys. And a little crooked here now, but now we're good. Now we're good to go. All right, now what I have is this Harvest of Beauty embellishment to tuck under there. It's such a cute embellishment. And wouldn't this be cute to put a picture of your family and then just what a harvest of beauty it is? Now I'm going to adhere this, but I'm not going to put any adhesive on this right half of the embellishment because I want to be able to tuck a photo under there. So I'm only going to put adhesive on the left side. And look at that, because we drew that pencil line, you've got those nice looking leaves popping out of the wagon wheel. It's so much fun. If you haven't used your inks yet, pull some paper out, give it a try. If you're worried about making a mistake, you can't. It's ink. It's so much fun. And you're going to really enjoy the learning process. If you've never used inks before, something you can test and try is putting the stencil down and testing that inking and tapping off so that you get that nice gentle look to your images. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you had a really great time crafting. Bye-bye.